Thanks for joining us on this edition of Business Daily, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Lee Ji-yoon. We have plenty on our plate today, so let's get started with the day's highlights. Korea's highest earners are raking in big, with the top 10% sweeping up nearly half of the country's total income. To get more people to power their homes with solar electricity, the Korean government is devising a way for people to both store and sell their green energy. But first, the unemployment rate among Korea's younger generation reached a record high last month. Although the government is pointing to some unusual factors unique to February, it looks hard for it to stamp out concerns about sluggish job market conditions amid feeble recovery momentum. For more, let's go live to our Hwang Jae at Korea's Finance Ministry. So Ji-hae, what's the latest on the job figures?
June, the jobless rate among Korea's young people reached 12.5% in February. That's the highest figure the country has posted since 1999, when related data were first compiled. Statistics Korea says the number of unemployed between 15 to 29 years of age stood at 560,000, up 76,000 from the same month a year ago. The agency attributed the sharp rise to seasonal factors coupled with an increase in the number of people entering the job market. The economic activity rate among young people rose 1.2 percentage points last month from a year earlier. The agency also says the rise in the number of applicants taking the civil service exam pushed up the youth unemployment rate, as most of the candidates fall under the given age bracket.
There was the civil service entrance exam, and the number of applicants rose by 32,000 this year compared to a year ago. Among them, 24,000 are in their 20s, and that pushed up the youth jobless rate by half a percentage point.
The overall growth in the number of employed also slowed last month, rising 223,000 compared to the previous year. It marks the slowest pace of increase in 10 months and marks a sharp slowdown from the 339,000 jump posted in January. Facing numbers that continue to reflect dismal job market conditions for Korea's younger generation, the government plans to lay out a fresh and comprehensive set of measures to tackle the issue next month. Experts say they should include drastic reforms that close the gap between regular and non-regular workers, as well as large companies and small and mid-sized firms. This has been Hwang Jae reporting live from the nation's finance ministry.
Out of over 200 of Korea's top firms in terms of sales, more than half have said they have not confirmed the details for hiring for the first half of this year. This is according to a survey by the Federation of Korean Industries on 500 large companies. Out of the 209 firms that responded, 52% said they have not devised specific plans to hire, mostly due to the fact that there are no empty seats for new hires. Only 19 firms said they will employ more graduates than last year, and 57 firms said they will hire the same number of people as last year. The Federation said there are concerns of an unemployment crisis in the first half of this year and called for the swift passage of economic revitalization bills to help create more jobs. Now, it seems the rich are getting richer here in Korea as the country ranks number 1 in Asia when it comes to the percentage of income held by the top 10% of earners. Now, the country's income gap, however, is not as pronounced as that of other countries in the region. Our Kim Min-ji reports.
Korea's highest paid people earn almost half of the nation's total income. According to the IMF, the top 10% of earners held 45% of the nation's income as of 2013, putting Korea at the top of the list among Asian countries. The number has been moving steadily upward from the 29% recorded in 1995. It's a significant jump considering that other Asian countries saw their shares rise between 1% and 2% on average during the same period. Singapore ranks second with 42%, followed by Japan and New Zealand. But on a brighter note, Korea's Gini coefficient, which measures inequality in terms of income gap, was relatively lower than that of its Asian counterparts. In 1990, the figure stood at 32, and by 2013, it had edged down slightly to 31. Although it's not a big drop, what's noteworthy is that the corresponding figure for China jumped from 33 to 53 during the same period, while Indonesia's went from 45 to 51. The IMF noted that in Korea there has been less movement between social classes due to the rapidly aging population and the sizable wage gap between regular and temporary workers, as well as gender discrimination in the workplace. Kim Min-ji, Business Daily.
Investors have their eyes glued to the U.S. Federal Reserve ahead of its monetary policy decision this week. The Federal Open Market Committee began its two-day meeting in Washington on Tuesday, with the announcement set for Wednesday local time. Now, most analysts believe Fed policymakers are unlikely to raise rates at this time, but if they see the U.S. economy improving, a hike could be on the horizon, despite the lingering uncertainties in the global economy. Watchers say the Fed will likely leave the target range for the federal funds rate unchanged at 0.25% to 0.5%. But the Fed may signal plans to cut down on the number of rate hikes that they had planned for this year. The match of man versus machine is now officially history, with Korea's Paduk Grandmaster Lee Se-dol taking 1 and DeepMind's AI AlphaGo winning 4 games. But it looks like that's not the only game Google walks away with. Over the week-long match period, Google's parent company Alphabet saw its market capitalization rise by more than 5%, coming in at $507 billion on Tuesday. That's a rate of increase that eclipses Nasdaq's gain in the same period by 3 times. So Google looks to be in a pretty good place. DeepMind may have invested $2 million in preparation for the race, but it walks away with the $1 million prize and much more. Chinese companies are rapidly becoming the biggest players in the global merger and acquisitions market, largely due to their efforts to counter an economic slowdown in their home country. Ari Kim Ji-yeon tells us more.
Chinese enterprises are the new giant in international mergers and acquisitions. Their activities in recent months resembles the global expansion that Japanese firms carried out in the 1980s. Last year, China hit a record high of more than $106 billion in value in the global M&A market, and it's on pace for another record this year. During the first 3 months, its global M&A market surpassed $101 billion, according to London-based market researcher Dealogic, driven mainly by concerns over China's economic slowdown. Many enterprises sought to transfer their funds overseas due to falling asset prices and the devaluation of the Chinese currency. But with government support, they've taken up opportunities to enter the global market and build up China's brand. The latest example of this global shopping spree is a $13 billion cash offer by the China-based Anbang Insurance Group-led consortium for the U.S.-based Starwood hotels and resorts worldwide. It's seen as a game changer that could potentially block a sale to U.S. hotel giant Marriott International this Thursday. There's also the $1.1 billion cash deal by AMC Entertainment Holdings for Carmike Cinemas earlier this month that led the Chinese-owned company to become the largest movie theater operator in the U.S. China's participation in the Korean M&A market last year also increased 128% from a year earlier to a record $1.9 million in transaction volume, mainly targeting companies in the insurance and entertainment sectors. Kim Ji-yeon, Business Daily.
Some bad news for drivers here in Korea as the price of gasoline is poised to rise for about a month due to the advance in global oil prices. According to Korea National Oil Corporation, the average price for 1 liter of gasoline at the pumps was the equivalent of $1.13 on Tuesday, up slightly from the previous day. Local prices had dropped every single day for about 5 months since last October until the recent rebound in global oil prices. The price of Korea's main import, Dubai crude, has dropped for 2 days, dipping under the $35 mark. But starting mid-February, it has been on an upward trend. Oil industry sources say drivers should refuel when they find it cheaper stations or fill the tank sooner in order to save some money. And it's not just gas that's going up at the pumps. Electric car drivers should also listen up, as EV charging stations currently available free of charge are set to transition into fee-based stations beginning as early as next month. The Environment Ministry said the rate will be 313 won per kilowatt hour. That's roughly 26 cents, or about half of the cost of running a diesel vehicle. The ministry said the cost was reached after thorough deliberation over companies' profit margins and users' economic advantage. The rate was the second highest of 3 options under review, and it will be up for reconsideration every year, with attention to changes in both electricity and oil prices. Korea is seeing the beginnings of a peer-to-peer energy market. Individuals are able to directly sell solar power that they did not use to their neighbors without a middleman. Our Eunice Kim takes a closer look.
This is Horte Village in Suwon, Gyeonggi-do Province. Of the 18 families that live here, 11 have solar power grids installed. Not only are they able to subsidize their own electricity bills, thanks to recently eased rules, they're now able to sell what's not used to their neighbors, who in turn enjoy cheaper electricity without having to pay more on progressive rates. A look at a sample bill shows the individual energy producer, or prosumer, was able to earn 10,520 won for 100 kilowatts of electricity, while their neighbor saved more than 15,000 won.
It helps a lot in the summer and winter when you use more because it builds up from the progressive rates.
The test project is part of the government's wider plan to open a full-fledged energy prosumer market by next year. State-run power producer KEPCO is encouraging more individuals to both consume and produce electricity.
We need to be more aggressive than other countries in reducing our carbon footprint and make sure the use of renewable energy becomes more established.
The goal is to establish a $6.3 billion prosumer energy market that creates 500,000 jobs by 2030, extending to the likes of private companies, schools, and places of worship. Challenges remain ahead, including making sure infrastructure keeps up. And there are already plans to rent out solar energy production systems, among others. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
How do you feel about entrusting your money with a smart machine? An increasing number of financial firms here in Korea have been turning to artificial intelligence to boost profits, and it seems to be working. Our Lee Ju-young has more.
Robo-Advisor Pepper is greeting customers in front of a bank in Japan. Right now, it's only in charge of assisting simple bank duties and introducing new products, but soon enough, the robot will be expected to work at the counter as well. That means Pepper can go beyond simple information processing and communicate with customers by interpreting their facial expressions and actions. The idea of replacing fund and asset managers with the so-called robo-advisors has become more popular since 2008 due to the cheap commission fee of 0.15% and the ability to function for longer periods of time. This trend can be seen in Korea as well, with financial institutes rolling out these intelligent machines at the beginning of the year to aid in investment. One example in case is a brokerage firm. With simple data like the principal and desired return input, the machine advisor offers investment options based on 900 trillion pieces of data it has studied. The results gleaned from robo-advisors like these have so far been successful. Over the past 2 months, while the return from robo-advisors was around 2%, local equity funds and shares on the Kospi saw losses.
I think robo-advisors will be more successful in the future if they are able to incorporate the emotional element of humans.
But experts say it's still too early to trust robo-advisors wholeheartedly, as market watchers add there are still many factors to consider, like the robot's ability to react in emergency situations and the possibility of a shrinking job market. Lee Ju-young, Business Daily.
And that brings us to the end. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow at the same time, same place for your Business Daily. Until then, goodbye.